And a pleasant good evening from high atop Arrowhead Stadium. I am Dan Lucero with this Kansas Jayhawks instant reaction on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube page. 580 Sports Talk, the name of that YouTube channel. Also, hello to our Facebook viewers on WIBW News. The Kansas Jayhawks are into the win column in Big 12 play, and their five-game losing streak is a thing of the past as they dismantle the Houston Cougars 42-14 this afternoon at Arrowhead. We've got an instant reaction for you right here on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Let's start with the obvious, how good this has to feel for a beleaguered Kansas team that had dropped 5 consecutive games after their season opening win at Lindenwood. By the way, I'm not going to suggest this is anything statistically significant, but Kansas is 2-0 when I'm in attendance and 0-5 when I'm not. So maybe it's me. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe they want to make sure I get out to the Sunflower Showdown next week. I'll be there, but maybe they want to make sure. Maybe that's good for them. I don't know. Just once is an accident, twice is a trend, right? Anyhow, 5 straight losses for KU coming into this game, and 4 of them in pretty agonizing fashion. And it never felt like KU was far away from playing good football, but that they were their own worst enemy a lot of times. And you wondered about the confidence. You wondered about their psyche coming into this game. And they showed from the very start on the first drive of the game, a 16-play drive that took over 9 minutes and ended with a Devin Neal touchdown run, or rather with a pass, with a touchdown pass on the opening drive. Jared Casey's first of 2 touchdowns on a pass from Jalon Daniels. That really set a tone for this game that nope, their confidence was just fine. They looked like a team that had gotten the mental reset that the bye needed to offer them. And they played composed football for 60 minutes, answered a lot of questions in a positive way about their composure, about their poise. And if there is to be a turnaround in the second half of this regular season for Kansas, what you saw today is what it had to look like for there to be any belief that a turnaround is possible. And that's in all 3 phases of the game, particularly offensively, taking care of the football. Jalon Daniels playing his best game of the year. This was vintage JD6 today, 16-21 through the air, 247, 3 touchdowns, also ran for a score, looked in total control of the football game. His accuracy is improving. He's looking more comfortable throwing on the run. The deep ball is back in the KU offense. Quentin Skinner with a 48-yard touchdown catch. It's starting to feel like you thought it might feel all season long, like the rosiest projections for Kansas football this year included the offense and particularly Daniels playing the way that he played today. And that's 2 games in a row. If you go back to the Arizona State game where he played very well, 2 games in a row that Daniels has taken care of the ball, improved as a passer, in control of this KU offense. And it is hitting its stride. And that's certainly a positive development for the Jayhawks. The running game struggled to get traction. Houston obviously came to try and load up the box and stop Devin Neal, but Neal got his 100 yards and his 2 touchdowns anyway, 108 yards and 17 carries and 2 touchdowns. As I mentioned, he's now up to 40 career touchdowns, one shy of the all-time record set by June Henley of 41 rushing touchdowns. And Neal very well may break it next week at the Sunflower Showdown in Manhattan. KU as a team ended up with 220 rushing yards on 33 plays. So they were able to get things done on the ground and through the air. A good, balanced, and again, composed offensive effort. Defensively, this was as good as Kansas has looked all season as well. They recorded 6 sacks. J.B. Brown played his best game of the season. DJ Withers with a pair of sacks as well. I thought Dean Miller was really, really good. And Cornell Wheeler being back in the middle changes so much for this Kansas defense. They did not play well against TCU and against Arizona State. They weren't good against the run. There was lots of space in the middle of the field. And not coincidentally, Cornell Wheeler didn't play in those games. He was out with an injury, and there was a lot of thought that he wouldn't play today either. But Lance Leipold told me after the game when I asked him about it in the press conference that Wheeler started moving around better on Wednesday of this week, and they started thinking, well, maybe they can get him on the field. And they got him on the field, and the KU defense was a whole lot better for it. That was an outstanding game from him. He had an interception, one of 4 interceptions on the day. for the KU defense. One of 4 turnovers that they forced. They ended up +4 in the turnover department, which was obviously huge. But Cornell Wheeler is a game changer for the KU defense. He takes them back to a level where they feel like they can stop the run a little better, control the big plays a little better. It's really, really good for the Jayhawks to have Cornell Wheeler back. I mentioned they had 4 interceptions in the game. One of them belonged to Wheeler. He caught a deflected pass. It was Miller that got a hand on it. Wheeler picked it off. The other 3 were intercepted by Cobee Bryant. And how about this? Cobee Bryant with 3 interceptions, the first Jayhawk to accomplish that feat in a game since the immortal Bill Crank in 1958. You may not be old enough to remember Bill Crank if you're watching this YouTube video, but Bill Crank picked off 3 passes in a 14-9 KU win over Tulane back in 1958, which was a pretty notable upset at the time. KU was not in particularly great shape as a program then. Tulane was very good. It was a notable enough upset to get written up in the New York Times. And Bill Crank picked off 3 passes in that game, also played quarterback for KU in that game. So Cobee Bryant didn't do that today. Didn't take any snaps. So Bill Crank's place in history is still secure. Don't get me wrong. But Cobee Bryant matching his feet with 3 interceptions today. It's been a secondary that has struggled to make those big plays this year. And Cobee Bryant's season probably registers as a bit of a disappointment given that he was preseason first team all Big 12. But 3 picks today brings him to 4 on the season and certainly raises the confidence level for that KU defense. 4 turnovers forced, 6 sacks. They overwhelmed Houston right from the start. Houston got a boost going to their bench. They were better when Donovan Smith was on the field, the veteran, instead of going to Zion Chris, who boosted Houston's offense last week when they beat TCU, but it was Smith today that was certainly the better of the 2 quarterbacks and led a couple of scoring drives, but KU never let the game get close. I thought that was critical as well. KU had a 14-point halftime lead and struggled, had a couple of 3-and-outs back-to-back and didn't add to their lead in the third quarter, but they never let Houston get it close. They never let that, oh boy, here it goes again, enter the back of their minds, and I thought that was critical in this game as well. The defense continued to stand tall and make plays and keep Houston from cutting the game any closer than a 2-score margin. That about does it from Arrowhead Stadium. It was an impressive performance. It's not a particularly great team that they beat today, but a win is a win. And for a team that had lost 5 straight games, you take them any way you can get them against anybody you can get them against. And it gives you, again, that belief that it can be done. And as Vance points out, and I appreciate Vance and everybody watching on the live stream on YouTube, feel free to comment, jump in the live chat if you're watching. Vance says Jayhawks better enjoy this one because it's a brutal rest of the schedule. And it is. There's no question about that. Next week is a Sunflower Showdown. KU hasn't won that one in 15 years, 15 consecutive losses to the Kansas State Wildcats, and that one's at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Not going to be a walk in the park. Their game after that isn't going to be any easier either, even though it comes with an off day in between. They got to play Iowa State, and it's going to be a lot of Iowa State fans here at Arrowhead Stadium on November 9th. Then they got to go to Provo to play BYU, who's still undefeated after pulling out a big win over Oklahoma State last night. Then they have Colorado here. Colorado looks legit. They put the smackdown on Arizona today before they finish up at Baylor. And KU's only got 1 mulligan left. If they want to go to a bowl, they got to get to 6 wins. They have to win 4 of their final 5. It is really tough to see 4 wins in these final 5 games, but it got a scotch easier today with the performance that they put forward. You could see the offense finding rhythm. You could see the defense gaining confidence. It's going to have to look like this. It won't come as easily against the better teams, but this is the blueprint for KU to salvage their season. They put it on display this afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium. We'll talk more about it on the Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk, which you can listen to from 3 to 6 p.m. Central Time on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9, and also watch on these very same video channels. Until then, well, I guess until tomorrow night when we do a Chiefs instant reaction after their contest against the San Francisco 49ers, I'm Dan Lucero, 580 Sports Talk, saying good night from Kansas City.